All right, what is going on, you guys? Brian here with another recap video. Welcome back to my channel. This week, this recap episode is going to be for tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite, and a newsworthy AEW Dynamite. It has been a newsworthy day, to say the very least, as far as professional wrestling is concerned. Of course, earlier this week, WWE reported that WrestleMania would be taking place at the Performance Center. Then today, they announced that WrestleMania will now be taking place, will be a two-night event, Saturday, April 4th and Sunday, April 5th. Then, when I got done finished watching Dynamite, I read that WrestleMania will be taking place for 2 nights. Sorry, guys. At multiple locations. So that is newsworthy in and of itself. Now, on to this week's episode of Dynamite. As we have seen over the last week or so, this coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic has really had a lot of effects on many different aspects of people's lives. Businesses have closed. Stores have had to restock shelves because a lot of things that people need, they have run out of. Schools closed. Businesses, everything has been going on with this coronavirus pandemic, and sports is not immune to it. We've seen in the NBA, in basketball, hockey, Major League Baseball, football, a lot of sports leagues have been postponing their seasons. In pro wrestling, we've seen events be canceled, postponed, relocated, and now it has gotten to the point where WWE, AEW have been ran shows without fans in attendance. And this week's episode of Dynamite was simply that. No fans. The only ones that were sitting behind the barricades were the wrestlers, or were some of the wrestlers of AEW. So let's just get right into it. We started off with a Cody Rhodes promo. He talked about the upcoming Blood and Guts match between the Inner Circle and the Elite. He talked about the problems that the Elite have been having over the last couple of months. He would then be joined by Kenny Omega and Matt Jackson, and then a little bit later on by Hangman Adam Page. Of course, as it stood before tonight's main event, that the Blood and Guts match, which would be 2 rings enclosed by a steel cage with a roof on it, the only way to win is by submission or surrender, which will be on the next episode of Dynamite. The Inner Circle versus the Elite. It looked like it was going to be 5-on-4 because of what happened last week to Nick Jackson, which put him out indefinitely via the attack by the Inner Circle. So, Matt Jackson basically asked Hangman Adam Page, who had come out with a beer, "Will you be by our side in Blood and Guts?" And Hangman, with a toast, said, "Yeah, I'm going to be by your side." So that was it for that. We saw in tag team action the Lucha Brothers defeat the Best Friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent. Good match. The finish was the Lucha Brothers had to cheat to win. Pentagon hit a low blow on Trent, and that allowed them to hit their double team finishing move to pick up the win. Afterwards, the Best Friends challenged the Lucha Brothers to a rematch. This time they wanted a street fight, parking lot fight. So that looks like that's going to happen on the next episode of Dynamite. So that's something huge to look out for. They announced a little bit later on in the show that another match set for the next episode of Dynamite is going to be a lumberjack match. Luchasaurus versus Wardlow, which should be an interesting fight, an interesting battle between two heavy hitters. Of course, Wardlow, the bodyguard for MJF, and Luchasaurus, a part of Jurassic Express. Hikaru Shida, she picked up a big win in a fatal four-way match, defeating Penelope Ford, Riho, the former AEW Women's Champion, and Chris Statlander. After the match, Colt Cabana was doing an interview. He made some comments about Penelope Ford that Kip Sabian really didn't like, and Kip Sabian confronted him, and they started pushing each other back and forth. So obviously that's going to be something to watch out for over the coming weeks with that little feud, if that indeed turns into something. Speaking of Luchasaurus, he was in action tonight teaming up with Jungle Boy Jack Perry to take on the Butcher and the Blade, and Jurassic Express picked up the win in this tag team matchup. We finally found out the identity of the Exalted One. It turned out to be Brody Lee, who formerly known as Luke Harper in the WWE. So Brody Lee, a part of AEW, and was revealed as the Exalted One. We heard from Jake the Snake Roberts and Lance Archer. Jake basically making it clear to Cody that obviously since you had an opportunity to answer our challenge, however now looks like we're going to have to make things personal. So that's going to be interesting, and to see what Jake and Lance Archer, Jake Roberts and Lance Archer do with that. Then in the main event, it was the Inner Circle, or I should say the Inner Circle's Jake Hager, Santana, and Ortiz, defeating the Elites, Hangman Adam Page, Cody, and Matt Jackson in a six-man tag team match to gain the main advantage in Blood and Guts on the next episode of Dynamite. However, Jericho got a little bit too overconfident, thinking that it was going to be 5-on-4, since Nick Jackson, who was going to be a part of the Elite and a part of the Elite team, was taken out. So he thought, oh, it's going to be 5-on-4. That was not the case, as Jericho was speaking. All of a sudden you hear this buzzing sound, and lo and behold, it would be Vanguard 1, which I believe is Matt Hardy's drone. He came, that appeared, landed in the ring. Matt Jackson got on the mic and said, oh, no, you're wrong, Jericho. You see, because I made a phone call to somebody who owes me a favor, and it's now going to be 5-on-5 at Blood and Guts, as Matt Hardy made an appearance tonight on Dynamite. And it looks like it will be 5-on-5 indeed in Blood and Guts, in the two-ring, enclosed by a cage with a roof on it. Basically War Games. Inner Circle versus the Elite and Matt Hardy. So that should be interesting to see what happens on the next episode of Dynamite. So with that being said, tonight's episode of Dynamite was surely weird, but it was also newsworthy, as we saw the reveal of Brody Lee as the Exalted One for the Dark Order, and of course the debut of Matt Hardy, or I should say the appearance of Matt Hardy at the end of Dynamite, tonight's episode. So with that being said, for those of you that watched AEW Dynamite tonight, Let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments below. As always, this has been my AEW Dynamite recap for tonight's episode. As always, I am Brian, and thank you for watching.